My original thought was to talk about manifesting
Mm,
because I, like so many of you, I know I'm preaching to the choir. This is a group of people who make things happen, of women who make things happen. We have been making shit happen for a long time. But in the particular climate that we find ourselves, world climate, political climate, I'm feeling very antsy. Like the restrictions are tightening in. Like this week, NASA wiped away on its website any mention of women in leadership. Sit with that. The bomb drops with that one, right? It's
yeah.
it's things like that. It's the incremental silencing and restricting of women's voices and women's power that I'm finding so itchy. I'm finding myself very defiant and very desirous. I want a new tattoo that says WWBD. What would Boudica do? I want it badly because I feel compelled to respond. So I was going to talk about manifesting. And then I realized that manifest age circles, you hear it in witchy circles, they talk about it in goddessy circles. Some women dislike the fact that man is the first syllable there and they call it woman fasting. But when but the issue with the wrong way was that it felt disembodied. And so I was going to go
Mm,
back to the root of the word. I thought, in my ignorance, that it would come from the Latin manus, about hand, and that it would be about making things happen, using hands, creating things to come forward, when in actuality, that's not the root of the word. So the root of the word does come from manus, but it comes from something kind of disreputable, something unlikable that you're bringing to the surface. And I thought, well, then why are we using that? There are lots of other words in the English language that don't have this long heritage of something slightly disreputable. So what I've come up with is, I think, is a much more womb-centric
mm,
word, which is create. I think that we need to create. Let's get rid of manifesting because sometimes that feels airy-fairy. Sometimes that feels like we just sit and think about things. Sometimes that thinks that we're just going to hope for miracles. Let's actually create because as women, we know how to do that. Our
mhm,
bodies know how to do that. Our spirits know how to do that. We're psychologically, energetically, spiritually aligned to create. We come into this world with a body that represents the Divine Mother, the great creator. So we are the best vessels for creation. So let's reclaim that concept rather than thinking about manifesting things. Let's create things, which to me feels much more present, much more of the now. There's a beautiful Italian word, crescere, which is the root of the crescent moon, the shape of something being emergent. And I think that we could use that as a motto, crescere. You know, it's kind of like get on your saddles and ride, girls. Hey, let's emerge. Let's be visible. Somebody the other day said, well, as I get older, I feel like I'm invisible. And my response was, well, then just talk louder.
mm.
Just talk louder, for criminy sake. I think it's Barbara Jordan who said this, and if I'm attributing it incorrectly, somebody please correct me. But she said, if they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. And
Mm,
so I think that more and more and more in these days and times, with the climate around us, we have to walk around with our own folding chairs all the time. We have to talk louder. We have to create. We have to dedicate to crescere. We have to emerge from a place of waiting for something to manifest. There's no time to wait. There's no more time to wait. The time to create these things, which we did 40. And so we have to create in a powerful, powerful way. Um, Another thing that's urgent and emergent is the League of Women Voters, of all things. I'm a legacy member of the League of Women Voters. I went with my mother when I was 4 years old, and we went from door to door to see if we could sign up. So seeing a man standing at the door and slamming the door shut in our face. That made a powerful impression. on me. There is at present an act that's potentially floating around in the halls of whatever dysfunctional thing we call Congress, which would make it not feasible for the League of Women Voters to register people to vote. So, as a legacy member of that organization, I'm miffed. I need to talk louder. I need to make more noise. I need to take up more space. I need to carry my folding chair into all of these rooms. And, and I know talking to myself, maybe it's a pep talk for myself that I'm giving me today, that I need more and more and more encouragement to talk louder, to show up with my folding chair. Those of us who are of a certain age remember that we actually had recess and that we actually went out onto the playground and that we actually, for long periods of time, would jump rope. It's that thing when two girls were flipping the rope and you stood outside of it and you stood outside of it and you were waiting for that and make your thing happen. And it always required faith, blind faith frequently, because you can't exactly tell when the right moment is. And it also required life force. You had to do the thing. You had to take the leap. You had to jump in and be present and be there. And so, as with anything like a seed germinating in the ground, it doesn't simply emerge, y'all. It's not the magic of life creation. No, this create what we want to happen. We can't simply wish it so. Envisioning it is fabulous and is necessary and is powerful, but then we have to do it. We have to act. We have to be present. We have to create. And so this urgency about not wasting a minute is what is really pressing on my mind these days. So I want to leave you with something that in our spiritual community, we always do with the big fire feasts. And we call it in our world, there is only the now. So we go around the circle and everybody says out loud, in our world, something that they desire to be true. Something like, in our world, no child is hungry. In our world, all water is pure. Whatever it is that's speaking to the front of your mind. And then everybody in the circle repeats it to make it so. And so in our last couple of minutes here today, I want you all just take the time. You can journal it, you can add it in the chat, but just to say, in our world, do that. This is your home. After you do that, in our world, whatever it is that is pressing on your heart and mind, then I am giving you the encouragement, the charge to within this next week, do something about that every single day. It could be something small. It could be what I do, my daily call to my Republican congressional representative to complain about something. It could be whatever you need to do, one simple thing, one action taken forward to create what you say to be so in your world, in our world. Because when each one of us take an action, it ripples out along the threads of our connectivity. It means that everything changes for everybody. And if we can make that commitment to each other, to each day take a simple action, a simple thing, and make it so, things will change. Action will be happening. We will act. Crescere, urging. And so with that, I want to leave you with one other image. And that is, I believe that the world is in labor. I believe that our world is in the throes of what those of us who have gone through the birthing of a human know as transition, which is that phase of the laboring where everything is overwhelming. It is painful. It is chaotic. It is fearful. And I've birthed several children and I've been a doula for many women. And at every single woman's labor, there is a point. And I believe this is true for every woman who's ever labored, ever, and ever will labor, that there is a moment in that laboring where she cries out from the depths of her soul, I can't do this. And those of you who've gone through this, you're nodding your heads because you've done it too. You've said it too. I can't do this. And there is always, if she is blessed with the support of women, there is someone there who is the vessel for the voice of the foremothers, who it's the nurse or the midwife or the doctor or the doula or your mama or your best friend standing there beside you, who voices the wisdom of the foremothers and who says, yes, you can.
Mm. Yes, yes,
And it
yes.
is that moment where we
Mhm.
create.